Devon Booker and Doncic go face to face.
Well, you know what?
Is Wainwright has to step in. The officials haven't called anything yet.
It's fine. It's just competitive game, man. It's all good. Just next time, don't wait till it's 3 seconds left to go.
In the world of NBA, where rivalries run deep and competition is fierce, talking trash has become a bit of a custom. It's like a spice that adds flavor to the game. While not every player is into the verbal banter, some prefer letting their game speak for itself. Luka, being the competitive guy he is, has been hustling for every edge since he was a kid. He loves making his opponents uncomfortable, and he's not shy about adding insult to injury with a bit of trash talk. When opponents try to give it back, it seems to fuel Luka even more. Let's check out some instances where players found out it's not easy to talk smack to Luka Doncic. Luka's been known as a tough competitor since his early NBA days. One of his initial challenges was facing off against the Los Angeles Clippers in the playoffs, a team that turned out to be a significant rival throughout his career. Paul George spilled the beans on Luka's competitive nature in a recent podcast episode, highlighting how his unique trash-talking style has earned him a reputation as one of the coldest killers in the league.
If you talk to him, he gonna talk that to you. He not backing down, but he a cold killer with some of the that I've heard him say.
Paul experienced this firsthand when he tried to get in Luka's head during the 2020 NBA playoffs. Those playoffs were Luka's first experience, and he delivered to say the least by averaging 31 points, 9.8 rebounds, and 8.7 assists per game, taking the Clippers to 6 long games. This heroic effort earned Luka a lot of respect from his peers in the league, including Paul George, who thinks very highly of him nowadays.
Not next up, Luka is now. Like, Luka is for real now. So we're talking about being the biggest international player now. Like, that's surpassing GOATs. You know what I mean? That's surpassing Dirk. That's surpassing Tony Parker. That's surpassing Hakeem. That's surpassing, like, he's got a chance to be the biggest international guy. You know, surpassing Giannis in a way.
George said. There may not be many bigger competitors than Luka Doncic, but if there is one that is undeniably more hardcore than Luka is, that would be the late Kobe Bryant. Luka didn't get to play against Kobe, but he did experience the Black Mamba talking trash to him. In a game between the Los Angeles Lakers and Dallas Mavericks in the Staples Center, Luka heard somebody from the crowd talking to him in Slovenian. Luka was confused. Since there are not many Slovenians in the US, Luka looked around to check who it was, and there he saw no one else but the Black Mamba himself. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, considering how often Kobe talked trash to his opponents, and even teammates for that matter. When Luka realized who it was, he smiled and shook Kobe's hand. The two actually knew each other, as Doncic spent some time with Kobe in August of 2018 working on his game. Doncic still talks about this experience to this day.
He was talking Slovenian, so I was like, he was talking my language, and I saw Kobe, and I was like really surprised.
In a matchup between the Clippers and Mavericks in Game 4 of the NBA Playoffs 2020, Patrick Beverly felt cavalier enough to talk trash to Luka Doncic in the first quarter when the latter was at the free throw line. But the Mavs superstar made the foul shot and talked some smack back to Beverly. Doncic, of course, made it known that he will be a nightmare for many years to come by hitting the game-winning three-pointer at the end of overtime in Game 4 to tie the series. He did so despite sustaining a painful sprained ankle that forced him to exit Game 3. Luka also got in some fights with Harrell as well, which made him even more motivated to beat the Clippers. This playoffs performance earned Patrick's respect for Luka. Beverly has always had a very unique perspective of the league, and his takes on some of the players and organizations are quite entertaining. Now playing his 12th NBA season, he is a veteran who spends more time mentoring the young players and appearing on podcasts. A question that Patrick was asked in one of his appearances was about the best trash talkers in the NBA. Beverly listed out his top 5 with no hesitation.
Draymond for sure, KD for sure, low-key Luka Doncic, low-key is I'm definitely somewhere up there. Russ up there, cool little 5.
So, yeah, that is some respect he has for Luka's skills, at least the trash-talking ones. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were targeted by NBA villain Dillon Brooks, as he often looks to annoy his opponents before their games against him. Brooks has gained quite the reputation for getting under the skin of his opponents, and he tried to do so with Luka Doncic as well. He mocked Doncic for being injured and later sent a warning to Irving. I hope Luka gets back for the next game so I can guard him. I didn't get a chance to guard him the first game, and he had a great game. So I want to see where I'm at. Brooks then sent for Irving with the intention of intimidating the former #1 pick, as he will be all alone out on the court. Now I get to have him by himself today, Brooks added when speaking about Irving. I want to see what he's all about, so I can't wait to pick him up full every single time and see him get exhausted. However, Irving didn't retaliate when he was asked about Brooks' comments, and instead questioned his maturity. Dillon hopes every best player plays just because it makes the game a lot better competitive-wise. There's been a lot going on with him. Seeing him in the middle of all the Draymond stuff, I mean, it makes it great for our league, but at the same time, there's a maturity that we've got to have. Nothing should go over the line of personal stuff. If we keep it strictly on the floor, but once it gets, I mean, you know what it turns into out there. Kyrie responded in a humble manner, but Luka, who was not cleared for both games, seemed to remember this talk from Brooks and made sure to remind him of it the next time they saw each other. In their next matchup, Luka Doncic scorched Dillon Brooks and the Houston Rockets and had himself a 41.9-9 night. There is always more than one option for responding back to trash talk. An interesting situation developed on a play during the game between the Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. On a drive to the basket with Chris Dunn guarding him, Luka passed the ball to an open Derrick Jones Jr. Doncic then turned towards Dunn, smiling at his missed defense. Dunn did not take this well and walked towards Doncic with his pointed finger poking Doncic's still smiling face. Both Luka Doncic and Chris Dunn were issued technical fouls following the altercation. The game being a one-sided affair between the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz might have added to the issue Dunn had with Doncic. While discussions with the referee near the reviewing booth, Doncic was heard saying, "I didn't do nothing, he's just mad I'm busting his bro." After that, the referee tried to calm the situation down and asked Doncic if they could shake hands and let it be. To this, Doncic replies, "Never." Doncic knew he had gotten into Chris Dunn's head, and the guard was just adding to the taunts with the classic smile. Luka's got his fair share of NBA rivals, but none quite as prominent as Devon Booker of the Phoenix Suns. Every time these two stars face off, it's almost guaranteed there'll be some kind of clash, drawing significant media attention to their rivalry. Since Luka tends to come out on top against Booker and the Suns, they decided to amp up their game by bringing in Chris Paul, a seasoned NBA veteran and one of the league's renowned trash talkers. With Paul on board, there was no letting up on Luka. Reggie Bullock, Luka's teammate at the time, was asked for details on the verbal jabs Doncic was receiving from the Suns' stars.
I guess it's jabs. I mean, that he's a tough player. He's a great player. And, I laugh at it when they try to guard him. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, they're going to try to do the same thing to him, bring him up in every pick and roll. But, when we get the switch, I know it's a bucket every time. And I don't know about the switches with them to get a bucket every time. But I just know that we're going to back him up. That's our teammate. And he's going to hold us down on the offensive end and give us his best on the defensive end. It's about a team to be able to, take us back and not let nobody talk junk to our superstar.
Reggie Bullock explained the situation greatly, and Devon needs to keep that in mind for the next time he considers talking trash to Luka. Every time Booker's had tried to talk trash to Luka to get inside his head, he has found himself on NBA meme pages being made fun of. In a Western Conference matchup between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic managed to lead the Mavs to a big victory. During the game, Timberwolves big man Rudy Gobert had words for Doncic, which the latter addressed after the game.
"When you start that, coming back to you,"
Doncic said. Talking trash to a scorer like Luka Doncic could have been a recipe for a low-light moment for Rudy. Thankfully for Rudy, there were not many occasions where Luka scored on him, but his words did come back in the form of Doncic 34-point night. The Mavs superstar hit 5 3-pointers, adding 8 assists and 6 rebounds during the game. That is probably what you are going to get when you try to trash talk Luka Doncic. In a game where the Dallas Mavericks beat the Memphis Grizzlies, Luka Doncic played really well, scoring 35 points and adding 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 44 minutes. But it wasn't just about the numbers. Luka got into it with the defenders, chatted with the fans, and things got interesting. During the second half, Grizzlies' Vince Williams Jr. stepped up his defense, playing tough and getting right up in Luka's face. With less than 25 seconds left in the game, Luka got a technical foul after some back and forth with Williams. Luka called it friendly trash talk, but he couldn't figure out why he got the foul while Williams got away with it.
He was just talking the whole time. You know, I was back. I told him I wish let me play one-on-one. That's when I got attacked. So I don't know if the refs got to just let us talk. You know, it's part of the game. I love it.
Despite cooking him pretty badly, Luka credited Williams for his defensive impact, calling him a great defender, as he usually does when he is asked directly about an on-ball defender. As the discussion ended, the Detroit Pistons have been one of the worst teams in the league for the past couple of seasons. However, in a game between them and the Dallas Mavericks, the Pistons managed to keep it close and interesting until the very end, so Luka had to pull out a move to get some advantage. Luka Doncic made a little detour toward the Detroit bench during their timeout. He approached Detroit's assistant coach Allen to offer a few parting thoughts, punctuating a conversation that had continued throughout the game, an exchange that was extended as they barked at each other while Doncic slowly backpedaled toward the Dallas bench. As the discussion ended, Doncic laughed and cracked up a big smile. How did this game turn out? A Dallas win and a 53 points masterpiece performance for Luka. After the game, Luka was asked why there was tension between him and Allen, to which he replied,
That was from the first quarter. He was just chirping. I don't want to say the words, but I have no problem with that. It's basketball. Gets me going for sure.
On the other hand, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons at the time, Dwayne Casey, didn't seem to think much of the situation, considering he had coached some of the game's biggest trash talkers.
It's a bunch of nothing. We've seen worse. You remember I coached Gary Payton, so and Kevin Garnett. So that tonight was zero as far as chirping was concerned. I like it. I thought that it really got us going, and it's the way it should be. We're competitive guys. Doncic is competitive as heck. I love it. I love the way he plays, the way he carries himself, and I love the way our guys responded. They didn't step. They weren't intimidated. So it's all good. It was clean. There was nothing dirty about it.
At the end of the day, it is all about getting a competitive advantage in a respectable and sportsmanlike way. And both Luka and Dwayne Casey are aware of that. When Luka Doncic engineered a switch in the second half of Denver's rousing win in Dallas on Sunday, the Slovenian megastar got way more than he bargained for. The Mavericks screened Nuggets rookie Christian Braun, so versatile forward Zeke would be Luka's primary defender. Luka drove and appeared to have a step on Zeke, but the 6'10" forward challenged from behind. When Zeke swatted Luka's floater, he naturally celebrated the stop. Doncic, a fierce competitor who was already emotionally charged, took the boast personally, though Zeke said that wasn't his intention. Zeke talked a bit about this encounter after the game. "What? I'm cooking you," Zeke said of Luka. He has his little accent. I'm cooking you, you can't stop me." As the third quarter ended, Zeke and Doncic kept barking at each other. "I'm like, what? You haven't scored on me all game." "You haven't done anything," Zeke said. What Luka didn't anticipate or didn't know was that Zeke relishes those chances.
I definitely enjoy guarding the best players because my mindset is trying to lock them down and stop them.
He might have gotten away on that one, as Luka had one of his slower games at the time, finishing with 22 points on a below-average 7-16 shooting and 2 for 8 on three-pointers. Zeke's defense against Luka might have been the main factor in the Nuggets getting the 1-point win over Dallas that night. Watching from a distance, Steph Curry seems like a chill guy who doesn't usually talk a lot of trash to other players. But in a game between the Warriors and Mavericks, we saw a different side of Steph. Luka was going on and with trash talk to Curry's teammates, and it really got to him. We got to see Curry's angry side directed straight at Luka Doncic during the Western Conference Finals. One moment caught on camera was when Doncic called out Curry for missing a free throw and said, "Damn, what's going on, man? You scared?" Curry didn't allow Doncic's words to get to him, and he replied with a simple but savage, "Hey Luka, would you shut up?" Another time, Curry told Luka to shut up was when the latter accused the baby assassin of flopping throughout the game. Doncic even went as far as imitating Curry's shimmy after knocking down a buzzer-beating three-pointer to end a quarter. Ultimately, though, it was Curry who got the last laugh. The Warriors gentlemen swept the Mavericks in the series, heading to their 6th finals appearance, which later turned into another ring to boost Steph's legacy. This was a rare occasion where Luka actually lost a trash-talking battle. Trash talking is a common thing in competitive basketball. The idea is to gain a competitive advantage, and that's what Luka aims for. After the games, he keeps it cool and shows good sportsmanship, which is what it's all about. This is why Luka Doncic is one of the most respected basketball players in today's game.